All right. Welcome. After some testing and adjustments, I think I'm ready to move forward. So, what I want to do very at the beginning is I want to tell you this is a project that I have been in the planning for over a year, actually multiple years. It's something that I have done in person. I've done in my acting classes. I've done in one-on-one with actors, one-on-one sessions. I do that a lot over the years. I have one-on-one sessions with actors, coaching, demo scenes, all kind of stuff like that. And we come around to how did you get started? What motivated you? Um, what were some of the early things that helped you make progress? And I always tell people, actors, actresses, anyone even interested, remotely interested in this field, that books, books were the first tool I used to learn the craft of acting. Went on to go to college, did some studying of the acting there, did a lot of work privately, did a lot of work with different teachers and instructors over the years. And one of the books, well, the very first one that I'm so proud to bring to you right now is this next series of lessons that I'm about to embark on, where film and stage meet, is based on this book by, let me see if I can get a good shot of it, Acting for the Camera. Maybe get a nice focus on it, bring it back here by me a little bit. Yeah, Acting for the Camera by Tony Barr. It was first written in 85 or 86, 1985 or 1986. I think it was published in 86. Acting for the Camera by Tony Barr. You can still get this book today. It's been through a number of reprints. I'd recommend getting the original if you can get your hands on it. That's what I'm basing a lot of the things I'll be talking to you about. Um, Acting for the Camera by Tony Barr. I definitely recommend it. You can go on Amazon. You can get a copy. They're dirt cheap there. Um, you can lots of places on the internet you can get copies. Obviously, eBay. Amazon probably has the best quality you can count on. It's an old book, very fragile, and there's a number of reprints, like I said. So you might want to start with the old one. I don't know. It depends on the tech. Mine right here is very well worn, very used. I referred to this a lot over the years. And just being a book over 30 years old makes it fragile. So, what I want to start with, the very first element that I want to start this with, and this is a new project for me. Um, I've done this informally many times with actors one on one, many times in group settings, many times in class settings. So this is a new format here for me on YouTube. And what I want to do, again, we're going to begin this with where film and stage meet. And I think what the best thing for me to do so that I don't miss anything, I have some notes tacked up here for myself up in the corner. And what I'm going to do is refer to those notes. And then those notes are going to bring me back to you to fill in the details of my experience pertaining to those notes. Now, let's get to the first one. The same truth, different lenses. The same truth, different lenses. At their core, both film and stage exist to reveal human truth, emotion, conflict, desire, fear. The difference isn't what they explore, but how they frame it. One uses proximity and editing, and the other uses presence and continuity. So let's get into that. There's a lot in that nut right there that I want to talk to you about. So everybody knows, let's start with stage because that's where most actors have the opportunity to start. And you'll hear if you listen to interviews with any actors of note, they always at one point in their career, no matter how successful they are, they always want to return to the core. They want to return to the stage. Um, I remember my very first play was in college. I went to school in Maryland at Morgan State University. And one of my very early stage plays was called Medea. And I played one of the main characters, Jason, in the story. It was a kind of a revised telling of the story, but ultimately the story of Medea is her lover Jason leaves her, and to get revenge on him, she kills their kids. So it's a very Greek tragic. And so what the writer did was they altered the story slightly, basically the same story. And what they did was they didn't really modernize it, which I was happy about because I kind of don't like the when something is a classic and it's modernized too much. So it stayed true to the original. They just modernized the language, the delivery of the language. So that worked out well. It worked out well for me also because this was my very first stage play, and this was in the early 80s. And it was a good experience. And most actors start with some type of stage. And that's why this section, the same truth, different lens. You don't have a lens on stage, obviously. You need to reach the audience with your presence and your continuity as far as moving through the scene, moving through the dialogue, moving through your blocking, moving through making yourself open to the audience so they can see you, cheating yourself a little bit open to the audience. I'm not going to get in these talks, I'm not going to get too much into the weeds of the technical aspect of every subject we're talking about, but I will mention it just like that about opening yourself up to the audience on stage. So the big difference that a lot of people talk about when they talk about the difference between film and stage. Now, this is the broad strokes that people say stage is bigger. And to a great extent, that is true. Because if you think about it, a lot of, especially in the old days, a lot of the stage performances you don't have the ability to hear the audio, the vocal presence, the words, unless the actor, as they say in the business, projects and reaches to the cheap seats, the seats all the way in the back or up in the balcony. You need to be heard. Nowadays, they mostly mic every actor, obviously, on every stage performance because the technology has advanced so far. So that extreme projection that you had to do when you weren't mic'd is a little bit different, a lot different, actually. But your performance is bigger. Your performance on stage is broader. Your performance on stage is more animated. Those are the main difference when an actor or actress talks about working on stage as opposed to working in film or television. In film and television, you need to be a bit more subtle. Now, acting styles have changed over the years with film. Acting styles have changed over the years with television. And also, you'll notice acting styles within shows is different for film and television. Well, let me say television as far as series go. Let's talk a little bit about acting in different shows on television before we jump back to stage again, a little bit of stage. If you look at a show like a sitcom, the acting in the sitcom is much more broad, animated, closer to stage, I would have to say, because a lot of three camera sitcoms are shot with a live audience. So that's about as close as you can get to being on stage in the television world, where you're doing a live sitcom and it has a live studio audience. You don't have to do the extreme projection as far as your voice goes, but the movements, the comic elements, the the expression, the reactions are bigger in, I would say, sitcoms. And for me, here's a personal little anecdote story. I was on an episode years ago. I was on an episode of the Mindy Project, and my acting style is more realistic. And I had saw some episodes of the show before I got on the show, but what got me cast in the role and what got me on the set and got me the job was the style of acting that I did in the audition and the callback. So I really had no plans to change that to match the other characters. And plus, the great thing about the character I was playing, a lot of times I play authority figures, police officers, detectives, lawyers, doctors, the father, the minister, the FBI agent. So all figures of authority. So just on that show, I was playing a state trooper, and what I happened in the scene. I'll tell you a bit about what happened in the scene. Well, I pulled over Mindy and her boyfriend. I forgot the actor's name. They were driving, It was a deserted road. It was supposed to be somewhere in Connecticut, I think. But I pulled them over and walked up to the car, asked them a few questions. We talked a bit. We talked a lot of bit. Didn't make much of what a lot of what we said couldn't fit in the cold opening because this was the cold opening. The cold opening is the scene before the credits, and at that time, I didn't know that. I did know it, but I didn't really pay that much attention to it. That this was the cold opening. And ultimately some of it had to be trimmed off, but it did turn out to be a nice little scene between herself and I. um, and you can find that if you go take a look at my reel. You can look me up in the Internet Movie Database. I kept that on my reel. You can see that scene. But the reason I'm bringing that up to talk about the differences between television and stage, and the differences between on television different shows, the acting style on different shows. She was expecting, I guess, a lot of the day players, which that's what I was considered on the show that time, a day player coming in for one episode, having dialogue, and it was just that one episode. So a lot of the day players probably would fit more, would elevate their performance, make it bigger, bolder, more in your face. But I played the same character, the same style that I did for the auditions, realistic, realism, down to earth. And at first, she was a little bit she didn't say it to me, she asked the director. She said a little, comment, and I didn't think about it on the spot because I really wasn't. I was more focused on my performance and staying in the moment and character, and after I delivered my first we did our first take, she said to the director something like, "Oh, this is how we're gonna do it." So I guess she might have expected me to be a little bit bigger, a little bit broader, to bring a little bit more comedy to it, but that's not my acting style, and that wasn't what got me there on the set with her. So I wasn't gonna abandon it, um, unless I was told to, because I could have easily became more of a caricature of a state trooper than my normal performance of how I would do it, realistic, down to earth. And but everything worked out good. She fell into my style. She kept her style, which is obviously she has to keep her character style through the whole show, and it worked out well. Turned out to be a great little scene for me, and I used it over the years on my reel, and helped me propel myself up into more work. But the style of her show was a little bit broader than my style. And again, you take a chance. A lot of times when you're a day player, they will tell you, "Oh, we want you to pick it up a little bit. We want you to be a little bit broader. We want you to be a little bit more," however they want to put it, but they want you to be a little bit more bigger, bolder, to fit within their comic style. But luckily for me, I was able to use the style that had won me the part, and it worked out well. But I could tell from that very first comment she said that she was expecting the delivery to be more, I guess a little bit more bolder in their face, a little bit more, not threatening because it's a comedy show, but a little bit more, outspoken and forceful. But that is one of the things that you will see. There's a difference between shows. Some shows are very understated. The acting is more relaxed, the acting is more casual, more realistic, more, as they say in the business, grounded. But comedies can be broad. Comedies can be wild, much wider than real life. And that's how, again, with stage. If you're on stage and you're doing a drama, you're going to be bigger. It's going to be bolder. It's going to be, the movements are going to be bigger. The vocal range is going to be stronger. How fast you respond, how slow you respond, um, your physical movements. Excuse me, one moment. Let me grab a little sip of water here. How big your physical movements are, so that again they can see you back, as they say, in the cheap seats. So that's the big thing. People talk about the difference between stage and film, and there's a lot of differences within both of them, that depending upon the project, depending upon the director, depending upon the style of play you may be in, it may be more realistic, but it's still a bit bigger than what you would deliver on television. And now let me move a little bit in this section. Let me move a little bit into why. Why? Um, if you're new to this, and most of what I'm talking about, and let me sit up a little bit. I have a tendency to slouch down a little. Let me adjust my camera. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit getting a little bit too relaxed. Let me adjust my microphone. Okay, here we go. So when you are let's go back to stage again. I spent a little bit of time on film. Let's go back to stage again. When you are on stage, and again, everything is bigger, everything is broader. You're playing with a live audience. You may get laughter. You may get comments. You may you may get some interaction from the audience. So you never know. But you're there to stay in character. And sometimes if they clap, you pause. Sometimes if they laugh, you pause because you don't want to deliver your lines and there's roaring laughter going and no one can hear you. They miss the next bit of line that you may be delivering. So that's the joy, the instant feedback you get on stage with a live audience. You get a lot more of those reactions in a comic show than you would get in, a heavy drama. In a heavy drama, you may get some oohs and ahs, and you may get some people in the audience who will vocalize their feelings, like when something happens, oh, watch out, that kind of thing. So you may get some of that, and you need to be aware of that. And the beauty of the live audience for an actor is that you get that instant feedback. You can actually peek out into the audience and see if people are enjoying it. You see if they're clapping, you see if they're laughing where they're supposed to laugh. It's that instant feedback that really propels you, that gives you, as an actor, gives you that feeling, oh yeah, this is working. Oh yeah, this is good. And you can feed off of that. I did on stage when I first moved out here. It wasn't a traditional theater. It was a theater program, but it was a theater program with a message. I worked for UCLA, and I was part of a program called University Express. And what we would do is we would go into high schools and we would put on shows, and marbled in, built into our shows was information about college, how to get prepared for college, how to get the SAT scores you needed, how to prepare for that, how to prepare yourself for what college life was going to be like. So we covered a lot of ground in that show. But the thing about it is, we were with teenagers in high school, mostly in high school, and so you'd get that feedback, you get that instant gratification. You get the boos, you get the yays, you get the laughs, you get the snickering and comments, and you fed off of that. And it's something that I will never forget because it was a great experience. I think I did it for about 2 years when I first moved to Los Angeles. I don't even know if they have the program anymore. It's called the University Express. And again, they go into high schools and they let students know what they need to do to get prepared for college in the UC system. And it was a great program. And as an actor, it really helped me be sharp. During that time, I was going out on a lot of auditions. I had just arrived into LA, and it was a great way to stay sharp, stay fresh, and stay on your toes because kids are a tough audience. If they like you, they let you know right away. If they don't, they let you know. They let you know right away. And then we did a Q&A. We always did a Q&A at the end. So they would always ask great questions, personal questions, questions about the program. Mostly they asked personal questions because it was they, and I was, I was in my, I was in my mid-20s. So I wasn't, I wasn't their age, but I wasn't that far away from their age. So they were able to see someone who had just gotten out of college talking about it, as opposed to having just a teacher or a guidance counselor talking about it. So I really thought that was a great experience for me as an actor and for the youth. But it really also reinforced me the difference between stage and the difference between film. So back to film for a moment, everything is close. The camera is right there. The camera can see you. As that saying goes, the camera never blinks. So you need to live truthfully. You need to bring that real expression, and don't overdo it. Because when you overdo it, again, the camera never blinks. It sees everything. If you're doing too much, if you're doing too little, and that's where practice comes in. That's where experience, that's where rehearsal, all that comes in. Rehearsing your lines, knowing the character, being confident that you can speak as the character, because film is right there in your face. It sees everything. The eyes tell a lot. And one thing throughout this series that I'm going to be talking a lot about is listening. A lot of times on stage, you're so far away that the viewer, the audience, can't really, they're not paying attention to you as much when you're listening to the other character. Most audiences in stage, they jump, their focus shifts. And as an actor on stage, that's what you want to happen. If you're speaking, you want your focus to be on you. You want their focus to be on you. And once the other character, excuse me, once the other character begins speaking, the focus goes to them. Now, on film, since it's such a close medium, both actors can be the center of focus at any moment. And you, as an actor, you don't know when the editor is going to cut to you. You don't know when your reaction is going to help move the story forward. You don't know when your reaction is going to be used to cover something, uh, or to get a story element across. So your reactions and listening, truly listening, is a big, big, big part of acting for film and stage. But for film and television, more than stage, you must be able to truly listen. You must be able to truly listen. You can't be thinking about what your next line is. You can't be thinking about when we're going to cut or what's going to be for lunch. You need to be fully aware. You need to be fully committed. You need to be at that moment living truthfully in this creative environment, in this imaginary circumstance. And when they say that, and when that's said, that means you must be truly invested in that moment. You must believe that this situation is real, because you don't want your eyes to go dead. You don't want your face to go dead. You don't want your emotions to go dead. You want to be alive. Now, there's a fine point there too, because even a lot of successful actors do this. They do too much. They do too much. I was watching this German series last night called, what was it called? Let's see if I can recall the series. It was on Netflix. Was it Netflix? Yes, it was on Netflix. It was a 6-part German series that just came out, and I can't think of the name. But what I'll do is after this video, I'll look it up and I'll leave it down in the description below. But there were two main characters. They stood out, but not for a good reason, because they did too much. When they were supposed to be listening, sometimes they would be, making faces, moving their mouth, mugging, doing too much. And what it probably was that they weren't comfortable in a lead role like that. Maybe they didn't have enough experience. I'm not familiar with the two German actors. They weren't horrible, but again, both the police captain and one of his top uh, investigators, a female actress, they were, again, there's a fine balancing line. There's a real fine line, and it only comes with practice. It only comes with rehearsing. It only comes with doing this a lot and feeling comfortable, knowing when to do something and when not to do something, and not being afraid of silence, not being afraid of stillness. A lot of times with inexperienced actors feel that if they're listening, they have to do something. But listening doesn't always mean moving. It doesn't always mean fidgeting. It doesn't always mean brushing, fixing your hair or your eyebrow or reaching in your pockets. You don't always have to do something. You want to do what's real from real life. You want to listen. If you're actively listening, and this is just a little tip as I'm coming to the close of this first episode. Um, if you're really listening, and now let's talk about real life. You're really listening in real life. You're not fidgeting. You're not checking your phone. You're not checking your hair. You're not raising your eyebrows and parsing your lips and, wiping your everything. You may be really listening to the words that the other person is saying. Don't pretend to listen. Really listen. Because the way they say whatever they're saying, the way they respond to what you said, or respond and speak trying to get some reaction or information from you, dictates how you're going to respond to it. You're going to get these human to human messages if you really listen. They're there. Think about it next time when you're in real life with someone you're having a discussion. It really works well if it's something important. But also just the day-to-day mundane discussions. Think about when you're talking to someone and you're actively listening. You're really tuned in to what they're saying. You are trying to understand what the words they're using to communicate to you. You want to see their body language. You want to see the way when they pause, how they pause, why they pause. This will make you a better actor. And it'll make you a better person, to be honest, because you're not just standing there waiting for them to shut up so you can say what you want to say. And a lot of conversations in real life, to be honest, are like that, where you want to get your message out, but you really don't care what the other person is saying. To make you a good actor, you need to care about what the other person is saying. You need to actively listen. And when I say actively listen, it doesn't mean you have to do anything, but really pay attention. Because when you're really paying attention to what someone is saying to you, we can see it in your eyes. Your body will help you. You just need to relax and really listen. Don't pretend to listen. Really listen. That's one little thing I want you to take away from this first lesson. What I'm going to try to do as I break these down into separate lessons is at the end of each one, try to give you something. Let me adjust my thing. Try to give you something to take away. Take away. Now, again, getting on stage as a new actor is great. Try to see if you can get yourself into a play. Free. Community theater. If you're in college play. There are community groups all around, mostly in every big city. There are people who put on plays. You can put on a play. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It can be, you've heard of Shakespeare in the Park. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It can be a small community group, church group, 4-H club. I don't know too many more clubs or groups, but form a group. 3 or 4 actors. You can put on a play. Dinner theater. There's a lot of ways to get yourself into theater. If you're just starting out, you definitely need to experience a live performance that you're in. You're going to learn so much. You're going to learn so much. Obviously, you're taking your classes. You're reading the books. This one I'm talking about today, Acting for the Camera by Tony Barr. You're going to go on Amazon. You're going to order that. You're going to read it. And as I continue to do these lessons, you'll realize a lot of the content from these lessons are built on the skeleton of the knowledge I gained from books like Acting for the Camera. And what I do is I mix in my real world experience. And I try to bring you information that can be useful. Again, get into a play or form a group of friends and put on a play. It could be in somebody's backyard. You can invite over a few friends. You can rent a little location down at the Lions Club or the local rental hall. Put on a play, invite family and friends. You're going to learn so much about working in front of a live audience. And then the same thing can be done nowadays, and I'll be talking about this so much through the this series that I'm starting right now, that you're watching right now, shooting a short project with your iPhone. And the reason I bring up an iPhone, when I say iPhone, I'm just using that as a generic topic. You can use any smartphone that has a video camera. And you don't have to worry about editing. You can move the camera around because this is for learning. This is for the experience that you will get, the invaluable experience of doing it. And with the technology we have today, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. You don't have to use it on your demo reel. You don't have to enter it into a short film. If you're interested in being an actor or an actress, you need to work. And there's nothing standing in your way, especially these days with the technology you have. Now, when I started 35, 40 years ago, we had a lot of stuff standing in our way as far as making a film. Very expensive equipment, learning curve. Everybody knows how to operate the video camera on their cell phone now. You don't even have to have external audio. If you want to make sure your voice is being heard clearly, you bring the camera close when when one of the actors is speaking. So there's no excuse not to shoot something, not to make something, not to put together a little backyard stage play, even if you're an adult. But get those experiences because there is a difference between film and stage, television and stage. And then within those, there also exists the difference between projects and styles and playwrights. Some plays are more serious, obviously, some are absurdist comedy, broadly written, broadly acted. But get those experiences as you start. And if you have to generate those experiences on your own, do it. Do it. It's worth it. You're going to be a much more rounded and talented individual because the only way you learn to do this business that you've decided to do, show business, is to actually do it. So get out there and make something. Join someone's project. Create your own project. Don't wait. Oh, they didn't cast me. Oh, they didn't call me back. Oh, I tried out for 4 plays, but I couldn't get any. Oh, I went on 4 auditions for student films, but nobody cast me. Make your own short film. Make your own short play or skit. You don't even have to put it on YouTube if you don't want. Because remember, you're doing this to build your experience. The only way you learn is by doing it. And don't think because you go to class once a week that that's enough. No, you need to practice on your own time. Just like if you're casting a part, you're going to have to rehearse and learn the dialogue, learn the lines, learn the character, build the character background. We're going to talk about all this in other lessons coming up. But that's all the stuff you do on your own time. So get out there, get started. Leave me some comments in the comment below. Let me know if you have any questions. My email is provided there too. I love to answer questions. I answer every email. I answer every comment. Go to my channel, check out some of my work. I have a bunch of playlists. I have a couple of free courses for acting. You can see that on my channel also. Check that out and check out the playlist. Thanks for stopping by. I'm going to have this one out very soon. It's going through the live right now, and it should be broadcast right now vertically live. I know this is long for a live, but I just kept it going, and it will be on my channel in the horizontal section of video. And it's called Where Film and Stage Meet. I'll see you in the next one. Hmm.